Good morning, everybody. It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC, and today we are looking at the Reeve Sebenza series. These are both small Sebenzas. We have the 21 and the 31 here, and we are going to go over the knife in general, both of these models, the evolution, the history, all that good stuff. This is going to be one of my longer videos, so definitely sit back, relax, grab a drink, grab a snack. Let's get into it. Okay, so, as I said, these are small Sebenzas. This is the old school one, the 21, in S35 VN steel. And then we do have the newer one, which is the 31 in S45. I have tested both of these. They're both awesome knives, and there's really a lot to them. So let's go over it. The 21... they ran for, 10 years? Something like that, maybe more. No, I think it's 10. I think they do each one for 10 years. This one is in S35 and has there we go, integral lock right there. The old school one without the ceramic ball detent. Just all the old school stuff. I took the clip off of this one and just put a filler tab in. But this is old school. And on the new one, this has those slight modifications that they did where we now have the integral lock with a ceramic ball, which you can't see in this lighting, but there's a little ceramic ball in the lock bar here. And they did move the clip off of the lock bar on this model. So the 31 is literally the 21 with just a few very small upgrades. This is a knife that was designed by Reeve. He has South African roots. He called this the Sebenza because Sebenza means work in Zulu, and this is his knife that he decided would be basically the perfect work knife, the perfect EDC knife that kind of hits all of the nails on the head. And in theory, it does. When he created this, he did create the Reeve integral lock, which we now know as the frame lock. He is the one that had a hand in creating CPM S35 VN blade steel, which was one of the first knife steels. So a lot of steels that we see used in knives are actually not made for knives. And Chris worked with Crucible to create S35 VN for knives, which is really cool because you would think having a knife steel for knives would be a no-brainer, but we really didn't have too much of that before this. He was looking for something with good edge retention and good corrosion resistance, and they kind of came up with S35 VN, and then eventually we got S45 VN as well. And one of the really neat things about these knives are just the fit and finish and the grind itself. So we'll move the 31 out of the way for a minute. The blade on the Sebenza is probably the best of the best in terms of design and just how it was executed. So the thinness but toughness behind the edge on a Sebenza is basically unbeatable. It is so thin and will hold that thinness for quite some time because the grind itself basically dips in and concaves. And it's a really neat hollow grind that will last a very long time. And also just look at how the whole thing is finished. The whole spine is rounded. No sharp spots. Fit and finish on these is really the best of the best. There's a reason why people get so obsessed with Reeve knives because they are literally a work of art, but a functional work of art. The small Sebenza is a really good EDC size, basically perfect EDC size. That blade shape is really useful, not too thin, not too thick, and their titanium scales are just amazing. So, yeah, Chris was basically a genius. He created a whole bunch of aspects of the Sebenza that we had really never seen before. Machining techniques that we had not seen, and he just became famous for so many different things. And there is actually a like an interview thing on Blade. Was it Blade HQ that did it? I can't remember who did it, but on YouTube there's like a shop tour with Chris from years and years ago where he goes over all of the thought that went into his knives, and it's really cool to actually hear from him himself what he contributed to the knife community. Let's go over some pros about the Sebenza. So, perfect size. S35 VN is a really nice steel, and S45 is even better. Fit and finish is really nice on these. The finish that they do on the blade itself, that like stone wash type thing, I actually believe Chris kind of came up with that. He came up with that tumbled stone wash finish on knives, which we all love. The lock is very strong. I mean, just the construction on a Chris Reeve and on a Sebenza is top-notch. Also, one thing that they started doing before anybody else really did was including the tools that you need to maintain your knife. So before that, and even after, now, companies like to tell us that we can't own the tool fully, because what happens is you buy it, but then if you tinker with it at all, it voids the warranty, and now you can't get your knife fixed. And Chris Reeve knives did the opposite. So they send you fluorinated grease, a little work cloth, a hex key, Loctite, all the stuff that you need to maintain your property. They include that for you, and you're not going to be told no, and you're not going to get in trouble if you decide to work on your knife and clean it and lubricate it as it should be. You're not going to get in trouble, and they suggest that you do that. They also designed this knife so that it's very easy to do that. I mean, this is one of the simplest designs ever. A 5-year-old could take this apart with the hex keys, you know, and you can't really put it back together wrong. There are only a few pieces to this. So the company itself, I highly respect that they let us actually own the knife. Because if you can't take care of it, guys, if you buy something and you can't actually do what you want with it and use it to its full potential because you'll get in trouble if you try to maintain it after you've done that, you don't own that. You don't. That's not your property fully. So I really appreciate that we can do what we want with these knives and not get in trouble. And if you do mess up, you just send it into Chris Reeve and they'll fix it for you. It's that easy. But you can basically maintain it yourself because they give you what you need to do that. The S35, in my opinion, was heat treated, I should say, a little low and a little soft. But it does make for a very forgiving steel and easy to fix. So I guess I would say that's a pro for most people, having it on the softer side beforehand, because it was just easier to fix if you messed up. The S45, I've noticed, is basically just as easy to maintain, but it shouldn't, it's not as soft. It's a little harder and better, but still just as easy to maintain. So the S45 is a genuine upgrade here because it just works much better, and you're not losing that sense of being able to maintain it yourself. So really, these knives are genius. Chris Reeve was a genius. We have a few of those that have come through the community. In my opinion, Chris Reeve, Ernest Emerson, they were, pivotal game changers in the community. And we have some new ones coming through, like John from BGM Knives. I think that kid is a literal genius. I think Archie over at Nice Guy Machine is a literal genius with what he's pumping out. We just have so many people coming through the community that are really freaking smart and bringing things to the table that we haven't seen before, and you don't want to change anything about them because they're perfect. And that's what Chris Reeve did. He created the ultimate perfect EDC knife with nothing to change, and that's why he's so famous. But what I just said is exactly the con that I am going to get into now. We're going to talk about the cons. So this did not need to be changed. Chris created the perfect knife, and 10 years later we went and changed it, and that to me is a con because this was unchangeable. We did not need to touch this design. All we had to do was change the blade steel on this just to make it more modern, leave the rest alone, and it still would have been the best EDC knife in the world. Now we have this and we have problems. So the 31 came through, and now that Chris's son Tim owns the company, he has decided to make some upgrades. The S45 is fantastic. This is much better than the S35. I have no problems with it. I tested this for a month. Put it through the ringer for sure. I have videos of me doing that on my channel. So the blade is all scratched up, but it handled everything very well with my hard use testing that I did during my renovations. But let's get into the two cons that I just can't get over here. Why did we put the ceramic ball in here? Now we have flex. So this blade moves. I don't know if I can get it on camera here because I'm at an awkward angle, but basically, can you see how that blade is moving? Up and down, it's flexing. Look up here. Look right here when I do this. You can see that we have flex, and that's because the flat part of the blade tang underneath here, right in there, is hitting a circular ceramic ball instead of a flat lock face now. So we have flex. This lock will not give out. It's totally fine. But there is flex now, which is weird because on some of the models there isn't, and on some there are. So all of the 31s now have the ceramic ball, but only some of them have lock movement or blade movement, that flex. And they said that the flex is normal and it is an improvement, and it should be there. But what I've also heard is people that really didn't like that sent their knife in and got it fixed, and now it doesn't have the flex. So if it were a design improvement and all of them were meant to have it, why do only some of them have it, and why can you send it in and get it fixed? That is a little curious to me. Let's also look at this moving clip because this is something that drove me nuts during testing. Basically, one day I was cutting vegetables in my garden over the summer, and I gripped the knife and I heard a huge click, and I thought that my knife had broken, and it was actually the clip had moved over onto the lock bar. So if you grip the knife too hard, even though it's designed to stay off of the lock bar, it will move onto the lock bar. Yes, this is tightened all the way, but it will do that. That's a little bit annoying. Having that move is a little bit annoying for me, and I'm not sure why it's doing that, but it does. Also, when I got this, I had to literally crack this pivot screw out of the knife. So I don't know what happened. Neither does Tim, because I talked to him about it. He had no idea. This pivot was stuck in the knife, and I had to literally crack it out with the hex key, and it made an audible cracking, popping noise before it came out. And that's strange because we're supposed to be able to take these knives apart very easily, and a lot of people can't get them apart now. I've had probably a dozen people contact me saying, how on earth do you get this knife apart to maintain it? We have been told they're not Loctiting any of the screws in, but we can't get them out either with the tools that they give us to take it apart. Nobody had that problem with the 21, but now the 31 has come along, and we have a very hard time, some of us, getting the knife apart to maintain it. And a lot of people have to send it back because these screws won't come out. So, in theory, the 31 should have been like a rebirth of the 21, an even better version, which it's like, how is that even possible? It was supposed to be that, and it's really not, guys. I'm not saying this is a bad knife. It's a great knife, but I paid $475 for this knife, and I couldn't get it apart. The blade moves up and down, and the clip moves. And shall we not forget that about 10 people bought these, and they had the wrong steel put on for the blade. And you wouldn't even know that until you took it apart and noticed that the blade stamp was not a 45, but about 10 people bought these thinking they were 31s with S45VN blade steel, and it was actually S35VN blade steel. So it's like, for that much money, how on earth did you let almost a dozen knives slip through your hands with old steel? How did that happen for that much money when we're paying almost $500 for a knife that's supposed to have the new and improved steel, and people got the wrong one? Talika from Instagram was one of those people that got the wrong blade steel. So there are some cons, guys. There are some cons, and if you are one of those Chris Reeve fanboys, or you're going to be one, just be careful of the 31 because they have some kinks to work out. The 21 was amazing. It didn't have to be changed, but we did change it, and there's just some kinks to work out before it becomes perfect again, like the 21 did. Also, I will say, the holes in the washers, that's hilarious. There's no need for that, and it's actually just annoying because it makes the washers very weak and flimsy and easy to dent and roll, which is obnoxious. There is no reason for that. It's not a design breakthrough. It's garbage. Let's talk about best use. So this is called a work knife, and it is. The steel can definitely handle a good amount of a beating. It's going to roll for sure, but at least it won't snap and break for the most part. And this blade shape is definitely an EDC blade shape. You can't get any better than this. You have a nice tip that's not too thin, but not too thick. The grind itself is absolutely perfect. You have a ton of life within this blade. Very ergonomic because there are no ergonomics. It is just a very nice EDC knife, and there is really nothing I would change about any of it. You can use this as a hard use knife. You can use this in the trades. I did use this particular one when I was doing house renovations, and I tested it for a month and honestly beat the living crap out of it, and it survived just fine. This is a knife that you can beat up. And Chris Reeve knives will take care of you once it's dead. If you do kill it, they'll take care of you. No worries at all. You can do what you want with this. If you have a 21, be careful because these are not made anymore. They are very rare, and they, obviously you can't get this completely replaced per se if you do something really bad to it, because it doesn't exist anymore. Also, these are worth a crap ton now. So be careful with your 21s if you have them, because you're not going to find them ever again. But if you have the 31, beat it up, use it. Its name implies that it wants to be used for work, and it really should be, because it can absolutely handle it. Sharpening, as I mentioned before, super easy. This blade shape is awesome for sharpening. The steel itself is very easy to sharpen. S45 is a great steel and superior to the 35 that we had before. It's really good. One thing I will say, though, which is, I guess I should have tied this into the cons, but what happened within my testing of Chris Reeve knives is I noticed that the S35 VN blade steel was just super soft, and I didn't feel that I was able to work it like I should have been. And we went through that whole massive debate with laying the edge back, changing the edge to what did we do? 15 degrees per side, something crazy like that. We had to change it to 15 degrees per side to get it to actually hold an edge and work. If you don't quite know what I'm referring to, I have a whole video series on that way back in the archives. I'm not going to go over it in depth right now, but basically, I had somebody very knowledgeable in the community tell me that this knife will not work as it should unless you lay the edge back to 15 degrees per side, and then it'll work. But it's like, if I'm paying $350 to $500 for a knife, should I have to change the edge geometry to get it to work as its name implies? That's for you to decide. It did work. It worked very well laying the edge back on my other Chris Reeve, and it worked much better. But should we have to change an edge angle to get it to actually hold an edge longer than 2 days? I don't know about that, guys. When you pay that much money, shouldn't it come perfect? If its name implies that it's a work knife, should we have to literally change the entire edge to get it to hold? I don't know. That's for you to decide. It's a fantastic knife, guys, and I hope that I didn't come across as shitting on Chris Reeve knives at all during this video. I'm just being honest, because we have a lot of fanboys out there that carry this as pocket jewelry and say you will never find something better, and it's misleading. It's super misleading, and we just have to be honest. This is a great knife. It has tons of potential, and there's a lot of power packed into this design and this knife in particular. As long as you got it in good condition, tuned correctly, with the right blade steel, yeah. Just some stuff to think about, guys. But I do suggest that everyone at some point tries a Chris Reeve knife, especially the Sebenza line. I also really enjoy the small and Kosi, but I feel that it's a tad small, so maybe using a Sebenza might be a better idea for you. Just a fantastic knife. And if you didn't watch my series on actually using this and actually beating the crap out of it, I suggest you do, because there's not very many videos or content out there showing that. And I actually recorded myself doing those things. And on my Instagram page, I have pictures and videos from the testing of this knife where I literally showed everything. And we still have some scars from that. There's still some paint and some caulking and scratches and all types of crap on this one from just getting put through the literal ringer. It's really a great knife. Oh, and one thing I want to mention before I leave is a bunch of people were like, "You idiot, why don't you send that in for warranty if it has problems?" Because everyone sends it in for warranty when it has problems. Guys, I'm not going to send this in to get any of the stuff fixed, because I want to see what actually happens when you leave it be. This is how it came. As idiotic as it sounds, I want to see what happens when you don't get it fixed for you. Everyone gets theirs fixed and instantly sends it in for warranty if it has blade flex or anything. And I want to see what happens when you don't. So it should have come perfect to me. They had one chance to send it perfect to me, and they didn't. So I'm going to see what happens with that. Also, just something that I really enjoy about the company is they do record and take a lot of pictures of their process of building the knives and manufacturing them. They're pretty transparent. If you follow their Instagram page, they have pictures and videos up almost on the daily of everything. And I think it's really cool that they're that transparent about their production and about their company where they record everything. So that's something that I really appreciate from them, because you can watch that whole thing in real time through their posts and videos, and I think that's a very respectable thing when you're able to open up your shop like that and be like, hey guys, look at what we're doing today. We have nothing to hide. So yeah, very, very cool knives. Get your hands on one if you can. This is a very long video, and I hope it was enjoyable. It'll probably cause some controversy, but controversy. It's gonna cause some controversy there. Yeah, it might cause a rumble in the comments, but, appropriate and respectful conversation is good. So go down in the comments and talk about it. Anyway, guys, have an awesome day. Hopefully the video was, informative for you. And as always, use your shit. Have a good one, guys.